mo gihatag na nako ang code. So, proceed na ta sa to ang main topic for today. Ang ano ni siya, ang basic lang ni siya nga basic solving. So, sa rates of individual income tax. So, the individual income tax payable by citizens, resident or non-resident, and also sa mga resident aliens is imposed at progressive or graduated na rate. So, we have here the at the bottom the amount of net taxable income nila. So the theory is that a person's ability to shoulder the tax burden increases more rapidly as his income become higher and higher. So mo depende siya sa sa imuhang income, range na imuhang income. So the more na motaas ang imuhang income, the more na motaas pod ang mga tax burden na imuhang i-shoulder. Then only resident citizens and domestic corporation are taxed on income derived from abroad. So take note of that. So again, only resident citizens and also mga domestic corporations are taxed on income derived from abroad. So the tax imposed upon taxable compensation or employment income, mga business income, and income na na-derive or nakuha na to from the practice of professions na to, like the doctors, nga na, derived by citizens and resident aliens ranging from 5% on the first 10,000, then up to a maximum of 34%, 33%, pwede sa siya 32% on the excess over 500,000 kung mo sobra na ang imuhang sweldo og 500,000 or imuhang income. Dali lang. So, kanina ang table nga sundo nato no, and hopefully ma-familiarize jud ninyo ang amount of net taxable income nga table. Like if we say nga ang imuhang income kay 10,000 lang, ang rate niya kay 5%. Then over 10,000 but not over 30,000 kay ang iyahang rate kay 500 pesos plus the 10% of the excess over the 10,000. So later kay isolve na to na. Actually class, sa time namo no, katong face to face pa dili pa siya online. Mostly jud or most likely gina-memorize jud namo na ang table. Okay, kay bawal man mi magdala og cheat sheet namo no para mag-solve aning pagkuha og income tax or the net taxable na income. Dati kay gina-memorize jud namo ni. So karon kung para sa kuha ha, para ma-familiarize jud ninyo og taman, much better siguro nga i-familiarize ninyo kung saan sulod sa table. Kanang dili lang jud mo mag-base na always mo na ay guide ingani. So, proceed ta. So, effective January 1, 1999. So, the top marginal rate was 33%. So, mo na siya pinakataas niya nga margin. So, and effective January 1, 2000 and thereafter the said rate shall be 32% na. So that is according to section 24A of NIRC. So for example class, nagkamali ko diri og og type it should be 150,000 not 140. So dai lang class. Na ako'y kuan ana shortcut nga kuano nga solving para makuha nato ang mas dili ta maglibog pa sa nato kwaon ng mga net taxable income. Wait lang. Mag-share screen sa ako sa inyo ha or whiteboard. May makita ba mo nga whiteboard nga naka-share karon sa inyo ang screen?
Wala,
Wala,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Wala. Dali lang.
Wala, ma'am. Wala, ma'am.
Sige. I-set up na ako kadali ha. Kay para mapakita na ko. Okay, so thank you. So, first thing na buhaton na to if needed na to mag-solve for kung ano, kailangan na to mag-solve for the net taxable income kung pangitaon na to siya. Ang first jud na to na buhaton is lantawon na to ang table. Okay? So dito jud tanan ang ato ang basis. So for example class, kanina lang pangitaon na to ang 140,000. Sa ato ang table, asa man siya ma-fall. Kani di ay sabot sa ta. Okay, sabot sa ta sa kuan. Sa diri sa to ang bracketing. Para dili ta maglibog 10,000 to 30,000. Then pag abot na to sa next class, sa first ata sa 10,000 nga na ay 5%. Ang next niyang amount is 10,000 to 30,000, di ba? So duwa ka 10,000 so makalibog. Please ko ang magiging basis na nato ani para mawala ang libog na to is that ang 10,000 kahimuon na to siya og 10,001. Tapos, ang next na over niya kay 30,001 to 70,000. Then next is 70,001 pesos padulong sa 140,000 pesos. Then the next over is 140,001 pesos. Padulong sa 250, then 250 and 1 pesos, then 500,000 pesos, then 501 pesos. Okay, dapat butangan na lang nato na siya og 1. I-edit ko na lang sa later on class ha kay para dili ta maglibog in answering or finding the kuan kaning needed na to i-calculate. Okay?
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Ma'am.
So for example class, let's find the bracket na to for the 140,000 100,000. Asa man siya ma-fall asa man siya ma-fall diri sa tuang table?
Ikaupat,
70?
ma'am.
Katulo?
Ikaupat, ikaupat
Over
siya,
70.
70,000 to 140,000. So ato ang buhaton ana class kay 'di ba sa iyahang rate is naa siya 8,500 plus 20% of the excess over the 70,000 na to nga calculation, no? So para makuha na to siya class, asa na tong whiteboard na ako. So kay asa iyahang rate is 8,000. Pasensyahin na jud kay akong writing kay di ko kabalo magamit or magsulat gamit ang whiteboard. Pangit. 8,500. Okay, pesos. Never forget the peso sign. Okay, 8,500. And then, diri na magsulat ng solving. I-add na to siya sa pila man to ka percent ang naa sa kuan class sa rate sa
20%.
20%.
okay 20%. Batasan niyo pa doon akong sulat class. And then 20% of 140,000. Di na magkasya.
Ma'am. Sorry,
Yes.
ma'am. Try ni mo, ma'am, katong sa gilid, ma'am, katong sa text, ma'am, basi pwede ni mo i-type lang para dili malisod. Mao na, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Sige,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Nagpalisod-lisod lang dyan ko. Okay, so 8,000.
Hello.
Giyawad kayo. Sorry kayo kasi although millennial ko nga tao kay dili jud ko hawd sa mga technology. Kasi karon
Laban,
ko lang po
ma'am.
Okay ra,
laban
ma'am.
man jud ta.
Dili
Okay, so
man good sure, ma'am. Try lang.
lagi mag-explore day ko ani karon naman pud ako ni sa na-explore good nga na changes ang kuan ang Google Meet. Wala man ko ni siya ingani dati.
Sige, ma'am.
Okay, salamat kayo.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
20%,
20,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Ay, sorry, 20% tayo. Sorry.
Dili nga, dyan daning plans ay.
Sige, basta mga solving din, no? So, 8,500 plus 20% of 140,000. Minus na to siya. Kaya diba ang bracket niya is 70,000 to 140. So, dito ta sa pinaka, kuan niya, no? Limit niya na 140,000. Kulang ko og sa kasi. So, pila man ang answer class?
Wala, ma'am. 8,500 ang, kuan, ma'am, tax. Kaya wa man siya
8,500.
nagsubaw 140,000.
How about the other? Same na ba mag-answer? Try og calculate.
Ito sa 500 pud ako, ma'am.
Okay, so parehas lang og answer.
Yes po, ma'am.
Wa man gud nagsobra ang income gid niya, ma'am.
Galingad ko na niya, oy.
Sana all bright.
So, sige, kani, next na ko ipasolve. Off na ko kadali ang ako ang camera class, ha. Naalang mo agi sa akong likod. Nalang, kuhaon o gamit. Okay na? Ay, sorry, wala na off ang mic. Okay, na ako ipa-answer sa inyo. What if pangitaon na to ang income teka lang. Ang net taxable income sa 150,000. Can you solve it? Practice. 150,000. Gamit ang kanang ako ang gitudlo nga solution.
$10,500.
Okay, let's wait for other. Ang mahulog ana kay 22,500 plus 25% of 150,000.
$24,500 ay ma'am.
Nalibog rin ko.
Hani, nga lang, okay.
Niabot 22,500.
Pila ang imo answer? Pila to imong answer?
22,500 ako ama. Ambot na ni asa na naabot.
Actually,
20
sakto ang 22,500.
24,500 ma'am.
25 lagi ako, ma'am. 22 ako, ma'am. 25,000 ako, ma'am.
Mas nga asa na nang gani nung maabot.
Hala! Ang mahitabo ana plus 150,000 minus 140,000.
10,000 tapos
20% of 10,000. 25% of 25% ha? Dili 20%. 25% of 10,000. Unahon ninyo ang nasa parenthesis.
25 gani, ma'am.
Mhm.
Tapos ang katong 150 ma'am sa
5?
sulod na ibutang.
25,000.
Unahon ninyo kuan 150,000 minus 140,000, 'di ba? Mahulog siya nga 10,000. So, nasoldan ninyo itong nasa sulod sa parenthesis. Always ninyo sundon ang PEMDAS ha para dili mo maglahi man gud ang answer og kung 8 unahon ninyong 85 tapos 20% tapos saka ninyo i-minus ang 150,000 sa 140. So now ninyo itong nasa sulod 150,000 minus 140,000 ang answer niya will be 10,000, di ba? Next
Yes,
ninyo
ma'am.
i-solve is ang 20 10 ang 25% of the 10,000. So 10,000 times 25%. Pila ang inyong answer ana?
2,500.
25.
25,
25.
ma'am.
25 ma'am.
And then you
25
add
plus 85.
I-add tong 22,500.
oo, not the 85, the 22,500 rather. Kay 'di ba
Yes,
maman tong under, oo.
25,000 gani ang answer, ma'am.
25 ta gani ma'am.
Okay. Ako dahil nagkamali kay 8,500 ko nag-base. Sorry. Human error. Okay. Wait nga, 10,000 times 25% plus 22,500. 25,000. Alright. So the answer for this question, the 150,000 is 25,000. Okay, nagka-human error ko kaysa lahi day ko nagtanaw nga table. Ha? Anong 22,500? So, 25,000. Ang magiging answer niya kay 150,000 minus 140. So, equivalent to 10,000. Kwaon na to ang 20% sa 10,000. Magiging 2,500 siya. Then, we will be adding 22,500 plus 2,500. Kaya, ang iyang answer kay pila?
25,000.
25,000.
25,000. Alright. So, now let us proceed na sa ato ang other topic because nanata sa 40 minutes na lang. So, next is a non-resident alien individual engaged in trade or business in the Philippines is also subject to income tax in the same manner dito as sa individual citizen at wanggi ko ano gisolve kaganiya. So again, a non-resident alien individual engaged sa trade o sa business diri sa Pilipinas is subject pud siya for income tax in the same manner dito as sa mga individual citizen and the resident alien on taxable income received from the sources within the Philippines. So for other non-resident aliens na not so engaged, the tax is 25% of the entire or gross income na jud nila nga na-receive from the sources within the Philippines and 15% sila hang gross income received as compensation nila ang ilahang sweldo and other emoluments by reason of his employment if he is employed here in the Philippines. So through a regional or area headquarters and regional operating headquarters of multinational na mga companies. For example, dito sa 7-Eleven because our president or not the president kay bawal manggod mag-business ang mga not resident of the Philippines diri sa atoa, no? Parang sila jud ang magiging owner jud sa business. So ang nahitabo dito sa 7-Eleven is that Filipino ang president. Pero pag abot sa vice president, Taiwanese na ang ilahang vice president. The internal and external the internal vice president is Filipino, then the external vice president is Taiwanese. So naadyo na sila inga na Taiwanese o Filipino na mga kwan. Pero ang main shareholder jud nga nag-help na matukod ang 7-Eleven is the Taiwanese. Then, by offshore banking units established by a foreign corporation in the Philippines, then by foreign petroleum service contractor or subcontractors operating sa Pilipinas, then pang-tatlo is pang-apat is certain passive incomes, however subject to a separate and final income tax nga na-impose or naa siya into a fixed rated siya. So, exemptions sa incomes or exclusions are of course not subject to tax if na mga exclusions. Then, next is meaning of taxable income. So, income based of tax rate. So, this is the amount of the income upon which the tax rate prescribed sa tuang law nga needed na to i-apply para makuha ang mga amount of income na mga tax payable na mga income nga under sa taxable income. The net income is under the tax code. The term taxable nga income is defined in terms of how it is determined. So it means the pertinent items of at ilahang mga gross income nga gi-specify nila nga under sa tax code kailangan na to i-minus no sa mga needed na mga na mga deductions if na ay mga needed na deductions including mga personal nila na mga income and additional na mga exemptions authorized by such type of mga income by the tax code or basig na under siya sa mga special law. So mo to siya mga exemptions. Then non-exempt income, so the term is also used para i-refer niya sa tanang income or the entire gross of the taxpayer which are subject siya to tax or which are not exempted from the taxation. Then, mga taxable income of an individual. So, na ay net compensation income, net income from the gross business or professional income nila. And then, entire gross income nga na-receive by a non-resident aliens. So, let's proceed to the principle of sound tax system. Okay. So, my question is, what are the principles of a sound tax system? Unsa mo kaya ang mga different principle sa sound tax system? Can anyone answer it?
Sa tong question, ma'am, pakibalik.
What are the principles of a sound tax system?
Kaning tax rate 5% to 32%, ma'am. Corporate tax rate 30% and sales tax dash that rate 12%.
Anyone with different answer? Hingi sa to nag-answer. Wait lang.
Andrade, ma'am.
Andrade. Okay, Andrade. Napay iba nga answer?
Sound tax system man to, ma'am, no?
Sound tax system.
Ako, ma'am.
Sure. Go ahead, Ivory.
Ano, ma'am? Fiscal advocacy, ma'am. Administrative feasibility and theoretical justice, ma'am.
All right. So that is the principles of sound tax system. So first is the principle. Ivory, unta kanya ulit yung mga apelyido, Ivory?
Henovia, ma'am.
Genovia and Andrade. Genovia and Andrade. Okay, so principle of fiscal advocacy. So it states no that the sources of revenue of the government should be sufficient siya para ma-meet ang demand of public na mga expenses or expenditures regardless of ilahang mga business condition. So, the revenue of the government manggod class should be capable dapat ba kaya nila nga mo expand or mo contract annually in response to variations in public na mga expenditures ngano kaha because of inelastic government na revenue. So there may be surplus in the budget if ang ato ang revenue sa government is greater than sa ilahang expenses. And budget deficit if kulang. If government expenses manggod are more than the government revenue. So if again ang tawag sa kuano kanang mas dako ang pondo sa ato ang gobyerno, ang tawag ana kay surplus in the budget. If ever nga magkaroon og mas dako ang expenses versus sa revenue sa government, mo na siya nga tawag nga budget deficit. So, ang ideal budget man good na needed na ma-achieve sa ato ang kuan government should be just kuano kanang balance budget lang. So, an ideal budget to achieve fiscal adequacy manggod is a balanced budget when revenue is equal lang siya sa iyahang mga expenditures or sa mga expenses na ginagastos sa ato ang government. Second is the equality or theoretical justice. So kaning theoretical justice, it states manggod that the tax burden must be proportionate siya to the taxpayer's ability nga makabayad. So this is based class on the philosophy that he who receive more should give more. Kana kadawat siya og daghan, dapat manghatag siya og kung unsa ang kung unsa siya kung unsa ang iyahang capability nga pwede ikahatag kay dagan man siya nadawat, then he should give more dapat. So since the constitution provides that taxation must be equitable, so a tax measure manggod that violates equality or theoretical justice would make such tax measure no na magiging null or even pwede siya i-void. Then third is the administrative feasibility. Third is the administrative feasibility. So tax laws must be convenient, dapat kuan siya no fair pud siya, uniform siya, and effective in their administration. So this should be free from confusion and uncertainty. So their exercise should be convenient as to the place, sa time, even sa mode of payment, and also not a burdensome or discouraging siya sa mga naga-business. So kaning administrative feasibility, it should be competent to public officials that kano naga-enforce for the uniform for mawala ang confusion and uncertainty. So dapat ang mga public officials na to kay competent sila nga mo enforce sa uniformity sa tanan na ilahang ginapatupad under sa administrative tax law. So unsa kaya nato i-apply ning administrative feasibility na aspect. So first is through the collecting of taxes at source. Mas kilala nato siya sa tawag nga withholding tax. Second is assigning of duly authorized na mga bangko para mo kolekta og mga taxes para convenient sa part sa mga nagabayad og taxes or the taxpayer. So dili lang isa lang ka office ang ilang aduhan, pwede sila madto dito sa bangko para mabayad sila ang mga taxes. Then third is quarterly filing and payment of income taxes. para dili sad mabug-atan ang mga payers sa mga taxes. Then lastly is electronic filing of tax return. So through electronic na tanan ng mga transactions, no need na to go there face to face. So the principle of fiscal advocacy and also sa theoretical justice, it represent the nature of the government's tax policy, and while kaning administrative feasibility kay gina-represent niya ang tax administration. So next question nako. Ex can anyone enumerate na lang, I will be explaining na lang this part, no? Can anyone enumerate the underlying doctrines in the exercise of taxation power? Enumerate the underlying doctrines in the exercise of taxation power. So, can you search this one na lang? This is my additional manggod nga topic for today. Mga underlying doctrines para ma-exercise ang taxation power. Kung siya katong na ay prospective application of tax law. Isa na siyang prospective application of tax law.
Hello, ma'am. Prospectivity of tax law,
Mhm.
imperceptibility of taxes,
Mhm.
double taxation, escape from taxation, exemption from taxation po.
Okay, so thank you for that. So prospective application of tax law. Thank you, Flizelda. Tama ba?
Yes po. Thank you,
Ay,
ma'am.
sa name. Flizelda.
Thank you po.
Okay, so prospective application of tax laws. So this states no, that a tax bill must only be applicable lang siya and operative after becoming a law. So this is a retroactive type of application of tax laws that shall be dapat dili siya ma-apply unless na lang there is a clear intent of the legislator that such law shall also be imposed on past na mga transactions. Then second is the imprescribe imprescriptibility of taxes. Before ko diri mo proceed no, naalang ko i-add diri as a perspective. Naatay ginatawag nga the exposed facto. So, there lang. Kaya basig ma-meet na po nato ni siya later on. Exposed facto. So the law, this exposed facto manggod, it provides for the infliction of punishment upon a person for an act done which or when such act was committed. So it is a punishment, type of punishment, or kaning exposed facto manggod is sa it is a kind of rule manggod. So it is not applicable actually for tax purposes, pero when it comes to civil na mga penalties like mga fines and forfeiture, um kani siya nga type of rule kay dili ni siya nag-include og mga interest. But tax law may be applied retroactively unless na lang, they produce mga harsh and oppressive consequences sa mga nag-violate ng mga taxpayer. So, dara na mosulod ang mga constitutional rights regarding equity and sa due process. So, second is the imprescriptibility of taxes. So, states that unless na lang no it provide this type of taxes or tax law kay provide siya sa state jud mismo. So, taxes in general are not cancelable. Dili siya pwede makancel. Although, the tax code provides for the limitation in the assessment and collection of taxes imposed. Such prescriptive period will only be applicable siya to those taxes that were returnable siya. So, the prescriptive period manggod shall start from the time na ang mga taxpayer nag-file siya og tax return and declares his tax na mga liability. So the court held that here is no time limit on the right of the BIR commissioner para ma-assess ang mga taxes on unreasonable na accumulated na mga earnings, for example sa isa ka corporation. Then we also have double taxation. So this is an act of the sovereign by taxing twice for the same purpose in the same year upon the same property or activity ba of the same person. So when it should be taxed once for the same purpose and with the same kind of the character of the tax. So sa the Supreme Court diri a class um with regards sa double taxation will held that there is no constitutional prohibition against double taxation diri sa Pilipinas. Therefore, it is not a valid defense against the validity of tax measure. So, this decision, however, no, kaning decision sa Supreme Court, it kuan magod mugawas siya as a valid constitutional defenses against oppression and dara na sad mosulod ang inequality in the implementation sa tax power. So para ma-avoid na to ang injustice and unfairness, magkaroon jud mga doubts as to whether double taxation has been imposed, it should be resolved in favor sa taxpayer always. Then we also have escape from taxation. So the doctrine of escape from taxation, it permits the taxpayer to minimize no i-minimize niya ang payment of tax by lawful means. So, the way by which a taxpayer could escape tax burden. So, natay natawag na tax evasion o tax avoidance. So, if we say tax evasion manggod, mao ni siya ang unlawful nga escape from taxation, kaning tax evasion. It means a tax evader breaks the law. Okay? Mao na siya nahulog siya na unlawful. While ang tax avoidance or tax minimize lang niya is a lawful siya nga aspect in which ang mga taxpayer or the tax avoider naga-sidestep lang siya para ma-minimize lang niya ang iyahang mga taxes. Then, my next question, class, for I think this is my last question. Unsa ang mga class, nature and essential characteristic of taxes? Nature and essential na characteristic of taxes.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Taxation is the inherent power of the state acting through the legislator to impose and collect revenues to support the government and its recognized objects. Simply stated, taxation is the power of the state to collect revenues for public purposes.
Okay. Lang ha.
Sige po, ma'am.
Nawala ang ako ang slide. Okay. So, kinsa kanito Norfateha? Nor
Moradas po, ma'am.
ay,
Sabi na akong pinsan.
Ngalan lang gud ako nasa una pa.
ha kinsa ni? Achar. Unsa kani ang imuhang kuan? Apelyido?
Moradas po, ma'am.
Wala ninyo ginagamit ang inyong
Ma'am.
SJP2CD nga account no.
Si Clarence, ma'am, ay.
Ganidara na mali.
Ulo, tokoro. Ma'am,
Yes.
pwede pa man, sir.
Oh, sure.
Ayon sa ganito, ma'am, essential characters of tax.
Nature and essential
Ay, nature.
characteristic. Essential characteristic of taxes.
Walay nature, ma'am. Pwede walay
Naa,
nature.
Ah,
Ay,
sige,
sa
go.
nature.
Go.
Kaya
Okay lang.
naman, kaya na ano, ma'am. Kaning 7 kabuk, ma'am, katong it is an enforced contribution.
Sige,
2,
go.
it is generally payable in money. Number 3 is, it is proportionate in character, usually based on ability to pay.
Mhm.
It is relied on person, on property within the jurisdiction of the state. Number 5, it is relied person to legislative authority. The power of tax can be only exercised by the lawmaking body or Congress. Number 6, it is relied for public purposes. Number 7, it is commonly required to pay at regular intervals.
All right. So thank you for the characteristic, then kaganiya is the nature.
Si ma'am.
Okay. So, first, I'll discuss the nature of taxation. So, first is taxes are forced siya nga burden. Mga charges, mga exactions, mga impositions, or mga contributions na to. Actually, forced jud siya kay gustuhon man nato nga dili ta bawasan og taxes upon magtrabaho ta. Kailangan jud siya bawasan dito sa tong trabaho. Actually, even though I'm a part-time instructor kay wala man ko'y mga benefits pa as of the moment because I'm just a part-time instructor. Pero ginabawasan niya pong kog mga taxes like pwede dili ka bawasan ng taxes nga na. Pero it is our kuan man god kuan na to na siya. Sa tawag ana ha, term ana needed jud nato siya ko or enforced jud if you are a worker kay needed jud nimo magbayad og taxes. Not just for worker lang. For example, ako nga na ako'y business. Even though sari-sari store lang ako ang business, kailangan ako magbayad ng mga taxes. So, taxes are forced na burden, mga charges, mga exactions, impositions at buka, or even contributions assessed in accordance man Japon noon siya with some reasonable na mga rule of appointment by the authority of sovereign state nato. Upon the person ba, kung ikaw trabahante ka, property, if kanang kuano ang na kay business, even ato ang balay nga ginapuy-an nato, we need to pay taxes. So, property or rights nga gina-exercise nato within its jurisdiction. So, to provide no public revenue na lang pod para makasupport sa tuang mga government na mga expenditures and mga projects. Then, the administration of law or even sa mga payment of public expenses, as what I have said, mga needed na buhatunon sa to mga government. Then, second is taxes are obligation. Katuday ako ang gusto ingon kaganiya. Obligation man gud nato as a citizen ang magbayad og tax. So murag tanan nga aspect sa ang life kay taxable siya, like ato ang ginapalit, ang ato ang business, ang ato ang ato ang profession, ang ato ang trabaho, ginabawasan tag mga taxes, even ginapuy-an nato na balay kay we have to pay taxes for that, yearly taxes, ingana. Then, kung ano, taxes are obligations created by law. Taxes can be imposed even without previous na mga agreement between the government and the taxpayers. Then taxes are generally personal to the taxpayer, so their payment should be borne specifically by the person with tax liability. So that is the nature of taxation. Then essential characteristic of taxes. So we have the enforced contribution. So this is the imposition. The imposition shall not be dependent siya upon the will of the taxpayer. Then we also have imposed by the legislative body. So the Congress makes tax law. So sila ang nagabuhat og mga law nato for the taxation. And then proportionate in character. So this is the ability to pay principle. So it is the basic rule in collecting the taxes. Then we also have payable in the form of money. So money is the preferred payment of taxes. If property is taken to satisfy tax liability, the property na ilahang gikuha para mabayaran ang imong taxes is sold through a public auction to satisfy the tax obligation. So katong ilahang makita dito sa auction na kung ano na embargo sa imuha nga property, pag na-auction to nila, if naay mapalit, so katong kwarta na malikom nila kay mo to ilang gamiton for the expenditures. Then imposed for the purpose of raising revenue. So taxes are the primary source of government funds, di ba? So sa ato mga past discussion. So this is the primary source of to fund government funds to finance its expenditures and mga proyekto na buhatonon. Then used for a public purpose. So money is taken from the public. So it can be returned to them in the form of mga public benefits like kanang mag-build sila og mga park, unsa pa ba dara, paninduton nila ang mga kalsada, magbuhat sila og mga public library para magamit sa tanan, then mag-impose sila og mga free health check-ups kana for the purpose of raising revenue para magamit gyapon siya ay for the use of public purposes. Katong kwarta na gikuha sa tua as a tax kay magamit gyapon mabalik gyapon sa tua para magamit for all nga citizen. Then enforced on some person's property or rights. So objects of taxation class are either tangible or intangible na mga properties, including mga business transactions. Then pang-8, commonly required to be paid at regular na mga intervals. So the dates for paying of taxes are fixed by the law para makakomply ta with the principle of administrative na mga feasibility. And pang-9 is imposed by the sovereign state within its jurisdiction. So the enforcement of tax is subject siya to territorial jurisdiction and international nga committee. Okay. So next question nako is can anyone enumerate the characteristics of taxes? First is first kay as to purpose of the taxes. Classification of taxes as to its purpose. Again, my question is enumerate the classification na lang. Enumerate the classification of taxes as to purpose. Ay maka-answer?
Ang sakit ng question, ma'am.
Classification of taxes as to purpose.
Ako, ma'am.
Ma'am, try.
Okay. Um, si kuha na lang si kinsa ba nauna? Justin or Vanessa?
Ang lat lang.
Sige, Justin na lang sa Justin.
Ma'am, wait lang. Classification of taxes as to purpose. General tax. It refers to the tax levied to an individual for a general public purposes. And special tax. It refers to the tax levied to an individual for a particular or specific purpose. Ano to siya, ma'am?
Okay. So you have the two do you have different answer, Vanessa?
Ano, ma'am? Fiscal and Revenue Tax Regulator and Sanctuary.
Okay. Okay. So actually katong kay kanang kay Justin kay the kuan jud to katong mga major nga classification of taxes to purpose. Actually same lang na sila, same lang mo answer ni Justin ug same lang answer ni Justin ug Vanessa. So elaborate ko lang ang kuno classification of taxes as to purpose. Revenue or fiscal. These taxes are imposed solely for the purpose of raising revenue for the government. So that is what kuno Justin define kaganiya. Example inganing revenue or fiscal, income tax, mga VAT, and transfer taxes. Then we also have regulatory, special or sumptuary. So these taxes are imposed for the purpose of achieving some social or economic mga goals having no relation to the raising of revenue. Example nga ni class, mga custom duties, protective tariff on kuno sa mga imports nato to control na mga para makontrol nato ang mga foreign trade, and also under pod sa sanctuary ang excise tax, and we also have the compensatory. Okay, so compensatory, these are the taxes that may be imposed for the equitable distribution of wealth and income in the society. So can anyone answer classification of taxes as to object or subject matter?
Ma'am.
Okay, Vanessa?
Personal poll or capitation, a tax on person who are residents of a particular territory. Property tax, a tax of properties real or personal. Excise or privilege tax, a tax imposed upon a performance of an act enjoyment of privilege of engagement in an occupation.
Okay, so thank you for that, Vanessa. Kabahog. Kinsa ka ito nag-answer ka na, Justin? Wait lang. Equal. Wait lang ha. Okay, so as to object or subject matter, so natay personal poll or capitation. So these taxes, as what to um, Vanessa kano shared the definition of term. So these taxes are fixed in amount and imposed on persons na nag-reside within a specified nga territory regardless of the amount of their property or their occupation or business. So example inganing personal sa personal poll or capitation is the community nga tax. Then second is the property. So these taxes are imposed on personal or real property based on its proportionate value or in accordance siya with some other reasonable na method, apportionment. So example niya, ang example aning property class is real estate ng mga tax. Katong ginaingon ako nga bisan ang ato ang balay na ginapuy-an kay we need to pay for taxes. Then we also have the excise. So this type of tax no are imposed upon the performance of a right or act or the enjoyment kumbaga of a privilege or the engagement in an occupation. Example, ingani nga mga taxes, professional tax, income tax, estate tax, donors tax, and even VAT kay under sa excise. So the excise tax as indicated here should not be confused with the excise tax on the property nga na-impose na to on a certain specified na articles manufactured or produced or even imported into the Philippines for either domestic sale ba or kaunon ba na to or for any other disposition. Then, so naala na tayo 2 minutes, no? Ako na lang iingon ang next na classification. So, classification as to determination of amount. Natay ginatawag na ad valorem and also the specific. So, ang ad valorem class, these taxes are fixed amount in proportionate to the value of the property with respect to which the tax is assessed siya. So, it requires this ad valorem. Nag-require ni siya o intervention of assessors para ma-estimate sa value sa isa ka property before the amount due from each taxpayer can be determined. Then ang specific tax, these taxes are fixed amount imposed and based on mga standard of weight or measurement ba, head ba or number, length or volume. Then next classification as to who bears the burden. So natay direct o indirect. So for direct, these taxes are non-transferable. While sa indirect, ang mga taxes are transferable. Then as to scope or authority collecting the tax, natay ginatawag na national o local or municipal. If we say national, those taxes collected by the national government. For example, mga estate, mga donors taxes, mga income tax, mga VAT, mga excise tax, duties, documentary stamp taxes, under na siya sa national nga scope. While sa local or municipal, those taxes collected by the municipal governments. Example, mga community tax nato, mga municipal license taxes na to, professional tax, and even real estate na mga tax. So, classification as to rate or graduation. So, naatay proportional or flat rate. So, this is the rate of the tax that is based on a fixed percentage of the amount of property, mga resibo, or other basis na needed nga matax. So, for example, real estate tax, and also ang VAT. We also have the progressive or graduated type of rate. So, the rate of the tax nag-increase ni siya as the tax base or bracket mo increase sad. So, naadara ang income taxes, estate taxes, and donors taxes. Then we also have the regressive type of rate. So, the rate of tax can mo decrease as the tax base or bracket can mo increase. Then we also have digressive. So, a fixed rate is imposed on a certain amount but mo diminish siya gradually on some below it. Then we also have the mixed type of tax. So, is a tax system that uses a combination of different tax rates. Then, nalang ko'y additional class. So, I still have 4 minutes left, no? Additional lang. Relating to um, sources of the Philippine Tax Law. So, asa ka jud nagikan na nga to ang mga tax law. So, first is the Constitution of the Philippines. Okay, this is just an additional lang, no? Constitution of the Philippines. So, the body of rules and maxims in accordance with which our power or the power of the sovereign are habitually exercised. So it is the supreme or fundamental law na to of the land because all other law must conform to it. So it is the basis in the determining the legality of all governmental actions na to, mga decisions na to. So the state can exercise the power to tax. Even ang atoang constitution is completely silent about taxation. Second source sa to ang Philippine tax law is the statutes. Then third is the judicial decisions. Pang-apat ang executive orders na to or the EO. Nasa tawag ng mga special laws. Tax treaties, convention with foreign na mga countries na to. Mga, mga um, transactions na to for the foreign na mga countries. Then we also have the revenue regulations promulgated by the DOF. Then BIR, revenue memorandums or mga circulars na gikan sa BIR. And customs pod na mga memorandums order. We also have here the BIR na mga rulings. Then lastly is the local government code or the book 2 or the LGC na book 2. So that is all our topic for the week 1 class, no? So we are done with discussing the week 1. Do you have questions and clarifications before we will end our discussion for today? Hello? Do you have questions and clarifications?
None so far,
Wala na po.
ma'am.
Ma'am,
Wala.
katong
Ay,
last nga,
None, ma'am.
ay, sa bintana na ito natubang. Yes? Kisa to na question? Francis?
ay ma'am, katong imong additional nga, kuan ma'am ba, di ba wala to sa SCP ma'am, right?
Wala.
Bantog.
Additional ra jud to.
Bantog ra kay, sige ko pangita sa SCP ma'am.
Kanina pagtugtis sa CP ma'am, wala jud ma'am.
Naingon na bitaw ko sa inyo nga additional raton ako. Di ba kay basig mag-wonder mo, asa ka hindi ka ng Philippine Tax Law, no? At least
Ma'am,
kabalo
basi
na mo.
maka-share ka ma'am og link baon sa bus para makabasa na mo balik ba. Mas tadiyan na mo sa
Ay, unsa to?
basi maka-share ka ma'am ba og link baon sa para makastadiyan na mo usab ba.
Sige.
Sa asa to nimo gikuha ma'am, sa book or sa kuan lang?
Sa libro to. Nabasa ra na ako sa libro.
Mao di ay ma'am wala jud.
Di kay nagakuha magul ko na sobrahan ko og basa siguro kagahapon. So, feeling nako kay importante jud siya na mabalaan ninyo kung asa nagikan ang mga taxes. So, gi-add ko na lang pud siya karon. Ana. Kay nag-abot man gud ako ang order sa Shopee nga libro. So, nagbasa-basa ko kagahapon and nakita na ko nga wala dito sa module. So, ko nga basig kaparehas mo na ko na mga curious kayong mga kuano og hunahuna. So, asa ka nagikan ng tax? Yeah. Always magkukundan yung question sa kong utok.
Si Ali ma'am, na the question ma'am.
Oh, sure. Sige.
Ali, open mic. I-question daw si ma'am. Okay na daw.
Wala naman po yun. Nakakuha na question na tanan.
Aw. Ayaw ko mong kaulog question good. Mas ganagi ko gina-question. Mayroon naman po good ko nga, o kung dili na ko ma-answer now, I'll try to research it and answer it tomorrow. Kaya dili po ta magpa-as if nga dagan po tagbalaan, no? Okay. So, you have questions and clarifications?
Wala na, ma'am.
Wala na. Sige lang, kaning, saan siya, ha? Unsa imong pangalan, Nor?
Morados ma'am.
Morados. Okay. Pangalan jud to nimo?
Apo, Morados ang ngalangan ko rin. Sa una, magdito mga ngalan na ko ba, wala nang gamit na ko na sa abroad lang.
Okay, sige. So, kailangan gud ko i-edit pa dito sa inyong module, no? I'll add it na lang siguro dito katong ako ang i-additional kung asa nigikan ang mga tax laws. Okay ra sa inyo, ha?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Sige, sige. O kung naa pa jud ko'y ma-add nga makit-an pa jud nako nga might be important na maka-additional sa inyohang mga kuan 'no, basahonon kay i-add na lang pod sad nako didto, para kung ganahan mo magbasa-basa.
Okay, ma'am, okay.
Sige,
Sige, ma'am.
sige. So that is all our kuan topic for week 1. Tomorrow, I'll be posting a quiz. Duwa lang as always duwa ka essay and then mag-leave ko og activity na lang sad sa inyo ha. Ha? Tulo or duha ka essay nga na. So dito mag-send lang ko og link for the form or sa form na lang ako ibutang. Di na lang ko mag-create og Google Classroom. I'll just let you know na lang. So, for the meantime, kuha na lang po, advance na lang siguro mo o download o Google Classroom ha. And please enter nasa Edmodo na to nga classroom. Check na lang ang code. Thank you for listening for today and I hope you enjoy listening to our sa tang lessons or discussions for today. Thank you everyone and have a great day.
Bye,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you,
Goodbye,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, ma'am.
Oh, magklase na ta. Clarence, napa?
Pangilom dya, Franz. Abi ako natun-an ron, Franz.
Wala na pa si
Adloy ko
ma'am.
niya, Franz, ha?
Ako bahala. Ako tudlo sa inyo tanan.
Ayun, na pa si mom.
Sige, apila. Ay, ma'am. O,
Tara,
Judy May.
Franz.
Judy May.
Franz, unya, ha?
Uy, alo ka, uy. Sa ko ako uyab. Ayaw, unya.
Sa mukha.
Sige na. Tabako
Ay,
na.
oy.
Record ba yan eh?
Hello, tama din, no?